Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Monday Motivation. Oh, we got the guest on it this time. That's solid. Yeah. That's how you know it's going to be a good Monday Motivation right there.
On a Thursday.
On a Thursday. But I'm joined, as always, by my main man, GV.
GV, yes, at Gore Invazovich.
What's up?
Catch me on the gram.
And we are also joined today by Andre Anderson.
Or Double A.
Double A, Bullets, Pocket Rockets.
Yeah, what's your Instagram handle?
Hey Yo Dre Day. Hey Yo Dre Day. What's up?
There it is.
I love it.
He's here. He's showing up. I'm sure everyone probably already knows who Andre is. He's the Luke Skywalker of real estate. Came in.
Are you the Darth Vader then?
Of course, yeah.
All right.
But no, he's in here. He's killing the game, working hard every single day. And what I wanted to talk about today, something a little specific, one of my favorite expressions ever. We're going to call it, and title it, Charge That to the Game.
You know what? And I was a little bit hesitant. I asked Daniel, I was like, what does that mean, man?
I said, don't worry about it.
I never know what these kids are meaning nowadays, man. And you said, don't worry about it. And I was like,
screw it. As we go. Yeah.
Screw it. 3, 2, 1, let's roll.
And
here we are.
And here we are.
Charging it to the game. I got my credit card out. What do I do?
Yeah. So essentially, it's kind of one of those situations. It's an expression. It really quickly surmises the concept of, you're going to have a lot of ups and you're going to have a lot of downs, and realistically, you just need to attribute a lot of those to the situation, to the profession that you're in.
To the game.
Yes.
Charge that to the game. So
that was a quicker, maybe less thought about the way to say it is charge that to the game. I hear it all the time where it's like, someone goes in, they buy a property, property ends up not working out. Man, you can charge that to the game. You're in this hustle. And
you chalk it up as a loss or learning experience.
And then you just move on. Yeah. And really, you don't lose because, that it becomes part of your education as you move forward.
I don't think you ever lose. Even, going back to our South St. Paul deal that went away because of, the finances didn't work out. We still, spent a considerable amount of time and money. It's not a complete loss. We learned a whole lot.
Oh, yeah.
That got us into our next deal. So stay tuned for that.
Ooh, exciting things in the works here.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I think a lot of people in life, it's really easy to and I think I've been recently guilty of it, where I'm getting more emotionally attached to my transactions than I probably should. And whenever I'm getting pushback from another side, I take it as a personal insult and rise up with the intent to destroy my enemy.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah, I think everyone in real estate has done that at some point, especially, and for some reason, it almost feels worse.
We need more details, a bit names.
Yeah.
Names, locations, dates.
Okay, so I'll give you a quick story. So I'm working on a deal right now, and essentially what's happening is we're purchasing a property, and it's for a client of mine, a good friend, and the issue was there was some venting that needed to be installed because none of the sinks in the property are legally conforming, and we had a list of probably 20 things that were all significant enough to be on a normal amendment from an inspection. Because after, you do your inspection, you usually ask for something from the seller if there's some major issues. We had a bunch of them. On this one, we had a short window to get all this done in. So I'm like, hey, these are the bare minimum that we need to be able to get a deal done. I don't want to waste your time doing the whole list, going back and forth, because we need to get an answer now. And, what I learned is that you can do that with certain people, but most people are, somewhat foolish and used to doing transactions one certain way, where we say we want everything, they say we'll give you nothing, and then we settle somewhere in the middle. So anyway, these people did not appreciate and reward my brevity and conciseness of our request, and are trying to negotiate on things that are non-negotiable to us. One of these is that there's some venting that needs to take place in this property, and she, the other agent on this deal, is arguing with me about a bunch of just nonsense, about saying like, hey, it wasn't caught in this inspection, this inspector says that it's not required. And you can very easily, with a Google search, just see, yes, this is the code in this city. And it's actually a state rule that these need to be
just
vented.
because an independent inspector, and again, anyone can be an inspector.
Well, the other thing, I mean, it was like a city inspector, but her point was it didn't come up on the city inspection report as a required repair. And my point was, that's not the point. That's not what we're talking about. It's still an illegal situation that needs to be remedied.
So I think that you're on the same page where the number one goal is not to prove that you're right, but to get this deal done.
Correct.
Do you think that she's on the same page, or he?
Absolutely not. I think they're...
And that's the disconnect where I think a lot of people have to, especially negotiating, where is the point of this negotiation or this tactic for me to prevail as the right person, or is it the point to get this deal done? And
right.
The sooner you both are on the same page, guess what happens?
Things go through, you get the deal done,
deal gets
and it's
done.
closed. Yeah.
It's very frustrating when you're dealing with it and you recognize, because pretty early on I recognized the situation. I made a request, got their response, and they were essentially saying that, you could immediately tell from their response that they were the people who just wanted to win in this negotiation and say, well, you asked for this and we're only giving you 80%. Haha, we got it. And then this other agent gets to look like she did something and earned her commission in this situation.
So how are you dealing it? Are you chalking it up as a loss, or are you charging to the game, or what's the how are you going to proceed to make things move forward?
Yeah, I just asked them to reach out to all of the city directly and actually do some research and understand it. And at the same time, I'm currently waiting to hear back. So we'll see how it goes. But she proposed another solution that limited her exposure. But at the end of the day, I'm willing to get a deal done. And when I recognized that they were having an issue, and it was more about pride than actually getting a successful transaction put together, I had to adjust my strategy in such a way that, number one, the first thing that we had to do is actually back up kind of the implied threat of, if this isn't done, then we don't have a deal. We need to make the possibility of this no longer being a deal real in their head. So that's something that we did, and it's accurate. We were happy and prepared to walk and demonstrated that very vigorously to them. So that at least got them back to the table. And then they proposed some drop where they're willing to contribute X amount of money, $750, to have it taken care of in one of the bathroom, which I think should be sufficient. And then to make my client feel comfortable and whole, I'm like, hey, if there's any overages, I'll just pay for it. Now we have a deal, hopefully, when I leave this recording studio.
Right, and that's, the ending to your charging to the game. You may come out of, your own pocket, but hey.
Yeah, but either way.
That's just what it takes to get the deal done sometimes.
The important takeaway from it is there was definitely a point, and I try not to do it, but I do it very rarely, where someone's acting so unprofessionally and has such a limited understanding of what they're doing, that it's hard not to have that emotional response and be like, you're an idiot, listen to me and do what I'm telling you to do.
Right.
Instead of doing that, it's better if you just charge to the game.
I know. I never really actually see Daniel ever get upset. I think he just gets agitated. The level of agitation kind of keeps going, but he never breaks his composure or professionalism while on the phone. As soon as he hangs up, closes his door, and then I hear all kinds of noises coming out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you do have to keep that professional interaction going all the time. Because as soon as that breaks away, then you're doing something completely different and nobody else wants to work with you. Mm-hmm. You know, you can be pointed once in a while, but never emotionally angry.
Mm-hmm. Right. Let's ask our guest, Andre, where can you speak to some of your own experiences when it,
charge into the game?
Charge to the game,
yeah. Where, you had a tough negotiation and you chalked it up as, either you came out of pocket financially or the deal didn't even happen, but it was still a learning experience for you.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, a couple of first clients that I worked with, they kind of fell through, like we could say, extra circumstances outside of my own handling.
Yeah.
But without getting too much into that, those definitely, I just charged it to the game. You just kind of move on, cut your losses, and then keep moving forward, talking with as many people as you can. One deal I just closed with a Zillow lead.
Shout out Zillow.
Shout out Zillow.
Shout out Zillow.
And
I want some Zillow stock.
Yeah. And so we were going to this property, right? And I stayed up all night, kind of. It was a HUD property, and we were going through the different regulations for HUD and how that incorporates into getting this deal done, and talking about a purchase agreement. What are the requirements for that? Stayed up all night. She also had to do like an online course, whatever. We got the acceptance. We get everything going. And then at the inspection, the walls cave in on the basement.
I remember that.
Yeah. So
literally, right? Like they were
literally
caving in while you were there.
Yeah. No. While the inspector was there at the day of the inspection. So I get a call at like 8:30 in the morning. I'm like, okay, this inspection is going to go good. Everything seemed nice and tight. We had the rehab costs all sorted out. We knew what was wrong with the property. Get a phone call at 8:30 in the morning. Andre, the inspector just said the house is caving in on him. I'm like, oh, hell no. Oh my God. So then we get there. Yeah, just like 3 to 5 inches of like solid concrete limestone just falling straight off of the foundation. And we just moved on. Then we closed it on a duplex. It was better. It was moving from a single family house, kind of getting her into the more investment kind of game.
Nice.
Then, so.
I think sometimes it's almost easier if it's on either end of the spectrum of a disaster. If it's perfect, easy. If it's so bad that the walls are caving in, you don't get as angry. It's just like, okay, it borderlines ridiculous at that point. But
what can you do?
Yeah.
When you're right in that middle section where I think sometimes what frustrates us is when we have that idea of you should know better. You should know better than this. That's where we get frustrated.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I go through those. I feel like a lot of times now, but I don't look at them the way I used to look at it before when I was younger. Now I've just figured out how to mellow. But that just happens every single day. Mm-hmm. And I really just I try to go into in every deal or transaction where no matter what happens, I'm still going to look at it from a positive perspective. And my charging into the game or my, either way, I would have learned something from it. Even if the deal or whatever doesn't get done, even if it costs me money, I'm still going to be better next time around because of that one experience.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. And I think it's just a fun thing to say. You charge that to the game.
Yeah, it is. Well, that happens all the time. We just don't maybe say charge to the game. Chuck, so many times where, even from a property management perspective, where things go wrong and you're just like, you gotta, it's gonna cost X amount of dollars, whatever, part of doing business. Mm-hmm. Just do it and move forward.
No doubt. And if you want a sustainable long-term business, then it's almost a requirement. People who are doing, very limited transactional work, mm-hmm. they don't necessarily have that mindset when you interact with them. And by that I mean, in our business, your typical home seller or your, first-time home buyer, they don't really have any perspective to be able to do that. So I think maybe being able to charge it to the game is a matter of perspective and experience.
Not just being able to, but expecting that you're going to have to mm-hmm. at some point.
Right.
And how often you get to that point is really going to be dependent on how well you learn from from the first to the second to the third and so forth. So it's just accepting and knowing that it's going to happen, but what you can't control is how many times, and that really just goes to the experience level. The better and you get, the less times you're going to have to say, well, another one.
Yep.
Well, so you as a business owner, then hit us with your best story of charging it to the game. I'm sure you got a good one.
Man, well, I mentioned in the beginning, I think the South St. Paul building purchase or renovation.
Give me some juice. Give me something ridiculous that you've dealt with. I've heard some stories of
Other than
the good old days.
The good old days.
Yeah.
Remind me, so maybe I can elaborate. What is the story?
I've heard a story of, some unique court cases. I've heard some stories of.
Yeah. Okay, fine. I'll talk to the court case.
It's public record.
No.
Oh no.
Well, kind of.
Yeah.
It is in the interwebs still as far as a story goes, but justice prevailed, and
Justice prevailed.
Not guilty verdict was handed down. So, but sometimes in a situation like that, where pretty much everything is out of your hands, out of your control. The only thing you can do is how you interact with it, and just knowing that you basically talking to yourself and just saying, hey, I'm just gonna deal with things as they come. I'm not going to build things into what they're not and overthink or overanalyze. That you're just gonna take it step by step. So a lot of times, a lot of people are like, this is going to take 9 months or 1 year to resolve, and then you overthink and you start to solve problems which haven't become problems, and that just gets you into a deeper, bigger rut. And
so you're losing efficiency.
You're losing efficiency. So that's where I kind of said, hey, I could charge it to the game about 100 times of all the different outcomes that I could have thought and things I could have done that would have probably, been to my detriment or would have resulted in a negative impact. But I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to deal with it as it comes, and I'm going to have 2 charges to the game moments versus 20.
I just appreciate and want to clarify maybe quickly for the record, because people who don't know what you're talking about, it sounds like you may have murdered somebody.
Yeah.
It's like a speeding ticket.
Yeah. It wasn't. No, I did not get a speeding ticket. But again, I'm sure if people Google my name, things will
and dig deep.
The remnants of that will come out, and I'm happy to share with it anybody. But regardless, after 12 months or so, not guilty is the verdict. And it was crazy. I mean, to the point where you were at the office, I believe, and I had gone out of town, but we had a letter sent addressed to me that had white substance in it with like a death threat.
Yeah.
White
substance. Right. So it was.
Oh Lord.
Right. I think the people wanted to have convey that it was anthrax, and the FBI had to get involved to investigate, etc.
It was baking soda or something like that.
Well, yeah, we didn't taste test that one, but that's where I was like, you know what, I wasn't overly upset. I thought it was actually pretty hilarious that somebody would go to that extent over alleged speeding incident. And I didn't really...
Where no one was hurt.
Yeah, no one was hurt. I didn't let it affect me, and I was like, hey, it's a learning experience to not be involved in certain situations that would bring me to that point.
Right.
So
yeah, anytime you give a lot of energy to anxiety, Grant Cardone always talks about what fear is and false events appearing real, right? And that just kind of slows down your momentum. It all goes back to emotional intelligence and really centering yourself. And I think that whatever kind of resources or abundance that you have in your life is kind of a reflection of like A, your emotional intelligence, and then B, your persistence in something, right? So
I like that. I think let's do the next one on emotional intelligence.
Yeah, and let's sign it off there. I think that's plenty to think about. I hope everyone out there is ready to stop being emotional and charge it to the game.
Yes, sir.
Boom.